L'schus Mayeshes Chayil, in honor of her birthday, Chav Ches Adar, may she have a Shnas Hatzlacha begashmius uberuchnius. Reb David Tzvi Chaim, known as the Radatz, was the son of the famous Chassid Reb Peretz Chaim. He was the Rav of Charitonov. The Frierdiker Rebbe related once by Farbrengen that the Chassid, the Oive, the Radatz, had a minhag before he ever made a bracha on any food or drink to put his right hand by his forehead, just like when someone does when he needs to remember something deep. When I was still young, says the Frierdiker Rebbe, it was about Tafresh Nun or Tafresh Nun Aleph, I once asked the Radatz, why does he do that? Why does he put his hand by his forehead before every bracha? So he told me, when I was 12 years old, my father, Reb Peretz, brought me to Lubavitch to the Tzemach Tzedek. When I went into the Rebbe was very much mekarev me. And amongst the things that the Rebbe told me was, listen to me, ver oi single, become not a kid anymore. And when you need to make a bracha on a food or on a drink, and you're going to say Baruch Ato, you should remember who you're going to say to Baruch Ato. Reb Shmerel Sasonkin once related that he was once in a place where somebody was making a bracha, and the Radatz happened to pass by him. So when that person started to say Baruch Ato, the Radatz, who heard him saying the bracha, started to shake, and he said with such a slavos, Baruch Hu Baruch Shmoi. A big fear fell upon all of us in the room, and the fruit that the person was benching on almost fell out of his hand. And in general, whenever the Radatz davened, made a bracha, made kiddush, he was completely mufshat from this world. In another Farbrengen, the Frierdiker Rebbe once related, one time the Radatz screamed out randomly, Oy Rebbe, and he fainted. When they woke him, he said that the reason why he screamed was because he remembered a chiddush that he had by the Tzemach Tzedek when he was bar mitzvah. And the Tzemach Tzedek put his holy hands on his head and gave him a bracha. And he also remembered some other yichidusin that he had by Tzemach Tzedek. So because of remembering those yichidusin, that's why he screamed and fainted. Tafresh Mem Gimel, after the istalkus of his father Reb Peretz, the Radatz became the Rav of Charitonov and the surroundings. His son Reb Avram related the following story. There were many refugees who came to the city of Charitonov from the east of Galicia. A bunch of them were arrested, and they were in big danger. What did my father, the Radatz, do? He took with him 10 people who were loyal to him, and he secretly went to Kiev, to Trotsky, which was a Russian general. He went through different chambers and different challenges until they managed to actually appear before Trotsky himself. When he stood in front of this general, which was known to be a Meshugana, a storm broke out. Meaning the general started to scream at them and greeted them not in a very nice way. The delegation asked the general if he could release the Yidden who were arrested from Galicia and Charitonov and just put them in a house arrest. So the general answered with a whole mabul of cursing and screaming, banging with his feet and banging on the table. At the end, my father signed an official document that if any of these prisoners will leave the city even for a moment, he's willing to be a arev instead of him, meaning that he will be arrested instead. And those people who were arrested, my father, the Radatz, didn't even know them at all. So he was willing to put his life in danger, trusting that they will not run out of the city, even though he didn't know them at all. And also they, the prisoners who were released, also did not know that the Radatz is the one who got them released. Our Rebbe once related that the kings in Russia were able to do whatever they wanted, since they didn't have any Congress on top of them. At the last years of the empire, the Tsar was a shikar. And when the Yidden wanted to accomplish something, they used to go out and greet him with a Sefer Torah. At that time, the Radatz was a Rav in Charitonov. And when the Tsar once came for a visit in Charitonov, the Radatz came out to greet the Tsar wearing a kapata, carrying a Sefer Torah. And when he was right next to the Tsar, he stood, he put his hand on his forehead, just like he would do before he would say any bracha. And he benched the bracha that you say when you see a king, Shenasan michvoida lebasar vadam. He benched it out loud so everybody could enter Amen. And the Tsar saw that a Yid is standing in front of him, wearing this strange clothing, holding a Sefer Torah in his hand, and he's screaming at him. He didn't understand it was a bracha. So until somebody explained to the Tsar what it was. When the Radatz came home, so the Radatz's nephew, which was a little more modern, Oifgeklert, asked his uncle, my uncle, you know that the Tsar is a shikar, v'chulu, meaning you know that he's a lowlife, and he doesn't deserve any respect. So how could you treat him in such a way? to say a bracha on him, to go greet him with a Sefer Torah. Why does he deserve this respect? So the Radatz told him, Petach, fool. He has a sar lemaila. He has a minister in Shamayim. Rabbi Yisrael Jacobson related. The year of Tafresh Ayin Vav, I happened to be in Chernigov. Since my papers were not taken care of, so I was arrested for 4 days. When the Rav, the Radatz, heard about it, he did everything he can to release me. When I finally got released, it was Sunday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I went straight to the Radatz's house. I arrived at 2 in the afternoon, and I saw through the keyhole to his room that he was wearing a talis and tefillin, and he's just about finishing the Ezehu Mekaimon and Rabbi Shmuel Eimer before Shachris. He drank a cup of milk, and then he davened each word from Hoidu, from the Siddur Tefillah L'Maisha, which is the Siddur of the Ramak. And he was actually pointing with his finger to each word. Davening took him about 1 hour and 40 minutes until after Tachnun. Reb Shmerel Sasonkin once related, once the Radatz asked me that I should accompany him to go somewhere. So I walked with him in Pitnitsky Street, that is the street where he lived. That street had only Yidden living there. That day I came from Yekaterinoslav, where Reb Leivik, the Rebbe's father, was the Rav. The Radatz and Reb Leivik were Mechutanim, because the son-in-law of the Radatz, the Shalom Shloime, was Reb Leivik's brother. So when we were walking on the street, the Radatz asked me, what's going on with Reb Levi Yitzchak? So I started to relate what's happening by Reb Leivik. We kept walking, and the Radatz was completely deep in thought. Suddenly, in the middle of the walk, he stopped, and out of his mouth burst like a scream. Oy bazo, if so, was is fart, tohu and tikkun? What is it after all, tohu and tikkun? Reb Shmerel Sasonkin also related that every Shabbos, the Radatz would chazer 2 ma'amorim, once before Kabbalah Shabbos and once by Shalosh Yidus. More than once, he would burst out crying in the middle of the Maimar. And it was a unique pleasure to hear from him Chassidus, because he would explain everything in such a way that even somebody who never learned Chassidus would understand well everything that he said. Reb Shmuel Levitin related, the Radatz was once in Charkov, together with the Chassid Reb Yitzchak Yoel Rafalovich. Reb Yitzchak Yoel told him that Charkov is a big city, and he started to show him different big buildings. So the Radatz told him, no, mein afkamino, it's all ein ve'efes, it's all nothing. They continued walking down the street. Then they saw a very big, fancy-looking building. So Yitzchak Yoel Rafalovich told him, Nur David Hirsch, what do you say about this building? So the Radatz answered him, und das is a größer garnished, and this is a bigger nothing. The Radatz's son, Reb Avram, related, in my father's house, the house was open, and the policy was that any stranger was able to just walk into the house and make himself at home and stay there for as long as he wants, for free. Whoever walked into the house would just find whichever corner he wanted, whatever food he found in the kitchen. Nobody asked anybody who walked into our house who he was, where is he coming from, when is he leaving. And I remember once when I was a little kid, says Reb Avram, when I was in Lubavitch, the Rebbetzin asked me, is it true that in your house you have so many guests to an extent that even the family doesn't have a bed or a blanket or a pillow? And you're sleeping on benches and chairs because of the guests? So I answered the Rebbetzin, I mishum ha lo irya, meaning if it's because of that, that's not a proof. Meaning, the fact that we're sleeping on benches instead of on a bed, that's not a proof that we have many guests, because to begin with, we don't have so many blankets and pillows. There were some guests that my father, the Radatz, would invite him to our house, and they were the most miyazdika characters of the city, the people who were the most dirty and uncomfortable to be around. And even though my father was an Easternist, somebody who liked cleanliness, he liked also to be alone, he wasn't a very social person, despite that, whenever he will invite those people, he will make sure to eat with them, which was a big Mesiras Nefesh for him. Our Rebbe once related in Afabrengen, when the Likutei Torah was printed in Vilna in the days of the Rebbe Rashab, the Chassid Reb Anshel Aronovich was Magia, the whole Likutei Torah from mistakes, and he fixed 3,000 mistakes. When he finally came to Lubavitch with the newly printed Likutei Torah without the mistakes in his hand, the Rebbe Rashab was very happy. When Reb Anshel saw that the Rebbe is happy and everybody is happy, so he went to tell the Radatz about it. And the Rebbe says the Rav from Chernigov, he was a big Lamdan, a big Chassid, and a big Oved with all the milas. And he saw that the Radatz wasn't very happy. But he's afraid to say something sharp because he heard that the Rebbe was happy about it. So Reb Anshel asked him, why are you not happy? Isn't that a good thing that we fixed up the Likutei Torah from the mistakes? So the Radatz answered him, Du verstehst nicht dem ganzen Inyan. You don't understand the whole thing. The whole Inyan of Chassidus is not that our brain should understand. Rather, that our brain should be soaked the whole day in Chassidus. So therefore, when you learn something, when you learn a mimer that has a mistake, and therefore you have trouble understanding what it says, so you harave, you toil for a few hours to try to understand until you figure out that it's probably a printing mistake. You can't chas v'shalom right away after 2 minutes say there must be a printing mistake, because who are you to say there is a mistake? Only after a few hours of learning and bringing up all possibilities, you could have, quote unquote, the chutzpah to say that there is a printing mistake. But now, when you were magiyad l'kut Torah from all the mistakes, so instead of haraving over the mimer for a few hours, a person will not have any challenges, and he will finish the mimer fast, and then what he will do? The Chassid B'Chaim Moshe Alperovitch related that during the first years of the Nesius of the Rebbe Rashab, there was a debate between the Chassidim, Rebbe Gershon Ber Paharer, and the Radatz. As it is known, at the Istalkos of the Rebbe Maharash, the Rebbe Rashab was less than 22 years old. Nonetheless, a lot of Chassidim were miskasher to him, including from the Ziknei Chassidim of the Tzemach Tzedek. So at that time, Rebbe Gershon Ber said, if the Rashab, which is the new Rebbe, would have been amongst the Chassidish and Galite in the times of the Alter Rebbe, he would be considered unique amongst them. And even if he would be in the times of the Mezritcher Magid, he would be considered to be unique. And even by the Baal Shem Tov. That's what Rebbe Gershon Ber Paharer said. But the Radatz said, I'm also hold very highly of the Rebbe Rashab. But Ad Kedei Kach, and when the Radatz, in the end of his life, moved to Eretz Yisrael, he said, now I actually see that Rebbe Gershon Ber was right. And he was sorry about the fact that only now, after Rebbe Gershon Ber passed away, he came to that realization. At the end of his life, Tov Reish Pei Hei, the Radatz moved to Eretz Yisrael, and he settled in Yerushalayim. A few of the Choshev Gdolim of the city went out to greet him, and the rest of the citizens of Yerushalayim made a whole big Kabbalas Panim in the entrance of the city. The Radatz had a daughter that moved to Eretz Yisrael a few years before him. But she did not come to the Kabbalas Panim to the Radatz, because at that time she was very heartbroken because of different tragedies that happened in her family. And therefore she did not want to go and see her father to see his pain. When the Radatz came, and he saw that his daughter is not there, he asked that he wants to see his daughter. So when she came, she told him, how can I handle such suffering? So the Radatz reacted, Oi, bist schon kein Chassid nit? Der Rebbe hat gesagt, dass der Eibishter schickt Yisurim, gibt früher a keli zu dem. Oh, you're not a Chassid anymore? The Rebbe said that if the Eibishter sends suffering to a person, he prepares him in advance that they should be a keli to handle them. We'll finish off with a Niggun from Rabbi Aharon Charitonov, which the tradition is that this is the first Niggun that he composed. He composed it either at the age of 16 or 18. And the story goes that when he composed this Niggun and his father, Rabbi Avraham Charitonov, heard it for the first time, he said that the first file is too long. But after hearing it over and thinking it over, he told him that actually I regret it, and there isn't even one extra tnua in the first file.
ay, 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 ay.